Half the year's gone. The other half has a lot to live up to, because 2026 has already handed us comeback seasons I'd long buried, adaptations I assumed were cursed, and a couple of originals that hit harder than anything had any business hitting in a 6-month window. Before the back half starts reshuffling everything, here's where my list stands. The 10 best anime of 2026 so far. Chinese isekai, the usual CGI stiffness, a lead who already looked too sure of himself. 3 episodes in, I realised I was watching the closest thing to Dr. Stone the fantasy genre has produced, and nobody even warned me about it. Roland's a prince banished to a border town, and instead of swinging a sword or stacking a harem, he sets about industrialising the place using witches as his R&D team. Medieval engineering, basically. The animation has its rougher stretches, but the art stays pretty consistent throughout the show. The world building lights up my brain in a way I forgot anime could even do. It's nerdy in the most affectionate sense.
从阴沟里溜进来的老鼠，把你们的脏手从我的小鱼干上拿开。
Speaking of Dr. Stone, I never thought a show about a science-obsessed teenager teaching cavemen how to build vacuum tubes would still be this electric 4 parts in. And yet, Science Future Part 3 doubles down on every reason Dr. Stone worked in the first place. The lunatic invention pace, Senku's 10 billion% grin, the unironic love letter to human ingenuity. This arc finally pushes us into the Mission Moon territory, and I'm glad the show isn't shying away from the bigger sci-fi questions it's been quietly seeding. The anime handles itself better than I expected, especially given how exposition-heavy the source can get. Some episodes drag when the science piles up, no point pretending otherwise, but the highs, watching humanity claw its way back toward the stars, these are still some of the purest joy anime gives me. Few shows leave me grinning like an idiot the way this one does. So in this world, being a hero isn't an honor, it's a sentence. Convicts get conscripted into a penal hero unit, dying and getting revived until the war's done with them. Sentence to be a hero opens on that premise and somehow makes you root for a guy you'd cross the street to avoid. Xylo Forbarts, convicted of killing a goddess, allegedly, isn't your typical chosen villain. He's calculated, paranoid, frequently despicable, and that's exactly why I can't pull my eyes off him. The animation isn't flashy, but the fights have a grimy, dark fantasy weight that gives me early Berserk flashbacks. I was surprised by how committed it is to moral greyness. I mean, nobody gets a clean pass, not even the lead. The pacing wobbles around a little bit and the goddess can get annoying sometimes, sure, but when it lands hard. Honestly, it's probably the most underrated thing I've watched all year, and I'd love more people to find it. The moment I watched episode 1 of season 2, I knew Mappa hadn't fumbled this one. Season 2 picks up exactly where the first left us, knee-deep in flower-faced abominations, doomed victims, and Tencent, who frankly shouldn't be allowed to exist in any moral universe. I actually admire how this time round there's a shift in focus. Let me explain, okay? This season, it strips Gabimaru's killer mask down to something raw as he learns survival means trust, while Sagiri hardens self-doubt into quiet steel, Chobei's loyalty to Thoma fractures under godly temptation, Yuzuriha's lone wolf instincts buckle into reluctant attachment, and Shion's blindness sharpens into something terrifyingly perceptive. I'd argue Mappa's been stretched thin this year, but you wouldn't know it watching this one. If you bounced off season 1, give it another shot, okay? The show's matured into something genuinely vicious in the best way. A retelling of Romance of the Three Kings would already be a tough pitch. Nippon Sangoku does something stranger. It drops the Three Kingdom structure into a post-apocalyptic Japan where nuclear fallout, plague, and a catastrophic earthquake have gutted the country down to 1/10 of its population and dragged technology back to the Meiji era. What's left splits into 3 rival nations, and a former agricultural officer named Aotero Misumi sets out to reunify them with nothing but knowledge and a sharp tongue. I was skeptical going into this one. High concept settles like this tend to drown in their own exposition, but the writing is patient and the character motivations actually carry weight in a way I haven't felt since Vinland Saga's early run. Visually, it's restrained. The studio leans into stillness, lets the storyboards breathe between the violence, and when the bloodshed does arrive, it actually means something. Not a casual recommendation, but if political intrigue with a slow burn dystopian edge is your wheelhouse, you'll be eating well this year.
焚き木に伏して天を諭すべし。これすなわち雌雄を決する鍵となる。
Having fun? Time to give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here.
この剣こそは
Fate fans, we are so back.
奇跡を追い求めた栄光への一筋。その意志を仰ぐ真偽の結晶である。決して何者にも阻まれぬ果てへ至る。エクスカリバー！
Fate Strange Fake finally got its full series treatment, and A1 Pictures has delivered one of the cleanest entries in the franchise we've seen in years. The premise is delicious. A false Holy Grail war held in the American Southwest, servants going wildly off script, and Gilgamesh wandering around being insufferable in the best possible way. I love how Strange Fake plays with the rules of the franchise. Servants behave wrong on purpose. Masters lie about who they are. The war itself feels stitched together with duct tape and prayer. The choreography in the Saber vs. Lancer episode is some of the best Fate animation, full stop. I'd hand this to anyone fresh to Fate without any hesitation. I'm a big Hiroyuki Sawano fan, and that man cooked. If you drifted away from the franchise in recent years, this is the show that pulls you back in. There's a specific brand of dread you only get from ReZero, and Season 4 reintroduced me to it inside the first 10 minutes. Subaru's been through enough hell to populate 3 different protagonists, and this season piles more on without blinking. The Pleiades Watchtower arc finally gets the adaptation it deserves, and the writing is at its strongest since the Mansion days. I think a big part of why I kept returning to it was how confident the show feels now. White Fox know exactly what it's doing, the pacing has tightened, the emotional beats land without yelling for attention, and the new players sitting at the heart of the Watchtower are doing real damage. Shonar's manic energy plays beautifully against the dread bleeding of Reed Astria, and Tomokazu Sugita's casting in particular is the kind of choice that makes you sit up. Comfortable viewing, this is not. But there's a strange catharsis in returning to a story willing to take its protagonist suffering this seriously. I missed this show more than I realized. I've been waiting for a Witch Hat Atelier anime since I first picked up the manga, and I'm honestly relieved to say this adaptation didn't break my heart. The studio took on what might be one of the most visually demanding manga of the last decade. Shirahama's line work could intimidate a saint and translated it with real reverence. Koko's journey into the world of magic, where spells are drawn rather than spoken, and the rules around forbidden sorcery curdle into something darker than that early episode hints at, plays beautifully on screen. The colour palette feels like flipping through a fairy tale book that occasionally goes sinister. My one gripe though is that the middle stretch slows a touch too much, but after all these years, Atelier finally exists in motion. It's tender, strange, and very nearly everything I'd hoped for. Coming back to free rent feels like meeting an old friend you didn't realise you'd missed. Season 2 picks up after the first-class mage exam with the Northern Plateau arc, sending the party deeper into the demon-haunted north toward the Golden Land, and somehow the show keeps deepening what already felt complete. Madhouse hasn't lost a step either. The magic duels are still strange and physical in ways most action anime don't bother attempting, and the quieter moments still gut me. I have said this before, and I am going to say it again, the art style is beautiful in every way. It makes me want to sit and think, and I don't usually do that. I appreciated how this season is willing to give returning characters real weight, and Frieren steps back occasionally, and you start to see how the world has reshaped itself around her absence. It's one of those rare shows that keeps earning every bit of praise thrown at it. And finally, the show I've been bracing for since Shibuya rolled credits.
ごちゃごちゃうるせえ。ここまで来たら言葉じゃねえだろ。領域展開。
その時、現代の黒い悪魔が
私は鉄の味が好きだ。
結界の崩壊する。
Jujutsu Kaisen returns with the Culling Game arc, and MAPPA somehow, despite the studio's reputation and brutal schedule, has delivered. Part 1 covers the setup, the new sorcerer cast, and the early survival rounds, and for once, the pacing actually breathes. Yuji's emotional state post-Shibuya is handled with way more care than I expected. Megumi's introduction to the game is haunting in a way I'm still chewing on, and the new players, Hakari especially, deserve every ounce of the hype around them. The animation is still doing things that makes me question how human hands made it. The production conditions remain brutal, and the staff deserve far better. But what's on screen is genuinely some of the best action animation we've gotten this year. JJK is back. Scarred, but back.
Guilty! Confiscation! Death penalty!
And that's my 10. Anything I missed? Well, probably. Feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll catch up with you for the mid-year deep dive once this season wraps up. Until then.